Live from Wellston, Georgia, it's another episode of the Wartown Times. Be sure to like us on all of our internet doohickeys like TikTok, YouTubing, and defation booking.
Hey everybody, it's your humble author, narrator, and fictional character, Daniel Louis Crumpton. On October 31st, Halloween, the city, and signs being stolen all over the place. Matt Reeves nailed that. So it is October the 31st as of this recording. And I did go and vote today. I went to cast my ballot for the popularity contest for grown-ups. And I did say that we were going on seasonal break, and we are going on seasonal break, which is so funny because every time I say that ZenonTheCar.com or WartownTimes.com is going on seasonal break, it seems like I do more work. But it's a lot of work. Anyway, I did want to come on here pre-November 5th, pre-election, because I like to keep my promises and tell you a story. So today I went into City Hall to go pay my water bill. Yes, I know there's probably an app or something, but I like to go regularly into City Hall for a few reasons. One, to let them know I'm still around, and two, to change out all of the listening devices that I've planted all over City Hall. That's a joke. But even if it wasn't a joke, you guys really wouldn't care because what we're doing is turning all of Wartown into a surveillance state anyway. You know, given technology that is like deliberately designed to invade privacy, and I don't know, keep track, trace, and database all of us, and we're so acclimated to it too here in Warner Robins. You know what's so funny? I got here in 1994. I went to Warner Robins High School for a little bit, and when I was in Warner Robins High, you had to read George Orwell's 1984. I don't know if they stopped doing that. I don't know. I don't know how many of you in Wartown, the fictional city of Wartown or Houston County or in Georgia, have read 1984. But, you know, when you're going down through the city and you see flock cameras everywhere, you're there. Okay. And I get it. Public safety. Yeah. You know, because it's lucrative. But come on. I mean, the next step is your local law enforcement and sheriff's department and things like that. They're going to be, you know, asking you guys to let them pull like a Christian Bale Batman invasion of privacy with all of your smart devices and ring lights and everything, and commandeer all of your footage, whether you like it or not. That's next. But anyway, read a book. But going back to the main point. So I wanted to get on here because as I was going into City Hall to pay my water bill, and I do like to go in there to show my face and wave and say hey to everybody who pretends they like me or actually likes me. Who knows? But I also like to fist bump Sergeant Wilcox. If you've ever been at City Hall, you know who I've known Sergeant Wilcox for a good long while, I think. And he is like my blueprint for what a peace officer is. I mean, he's always very friendly and he always has a smile, always very helpful. So anyway, I like to always go in there and, you know, fist bump Sergeant Wilcox. And is it Sergeant? I'm pretty sure it's Sergeant. I don't know. Anywho, but I like to go to City Hall to do that. On my way in to go pay the water bill, I met a lovely melanated woman by the name of Rita, and we kind of passed, and I think she asked me, "Are you Daniel from the Wartown Times?" or something like that. But we struck up a conversation about this election, which is why I wanted to come on here and discuss this pre-November 5th. And she was more mature than me. I've been on the earth for a few more rotations. And that means that she has more experience here than I do. And she asked me, she said, you know what we really need around here is for someone or someones to let our community, to communicate with each other that no matter what happens after November 5th, no matter who lands in what position, that we all be civil with one another and that we accept whatever it ends up being. And the look of concern on her face and in her body language is one I very much share. And I mean, anybody who is paying attention to what's going on in the world or in the country and in the world, you know, we are living in some very unprecedented times. Nothing is ever going to be the same. You Generation X people, you know that the world that we came into is certainly not this world. And a lot of you guys have kids, and we're going into some territory that I don't think that Americans or Wartonians are ready for after this election, one way or the other. And she was concerned, and I share that concern because just, a quick scroll through TikTok with appropriate algorithms built, you can see that our country is about to explode. It's already started in some polling places across the country. The military industrial complex and the corporation in the District of Columbia have done a very effective job at dividing and conquering. And one of the ways that they've been able to divide and conquer us is getting us to have this team sports mentality about our politics, which I talk about ad nauseum. And I think at this point, any American who can think for themselves, they know that I'm telling the truth. We know that the two-party system is completely broken. It's completely corrupt. The choices that we have for the CEO of the United States of America incorporated in the District of Columbia, neither choice is good. It's bad, and it's going to get worse after November 5th, because it's got to get worse before it gets better. However, I did share Miss Rita's sentiment that, like I've said before, it really doesn't matter who you pick for president of the United States. The Electoral College is going to choose that. Make of that what you will. But that is the bait and the switch. Is a lot of Wartonians may go into the polls to vote for who is the president, and they don't know anything about the other positions, the other candidates who are running in their local area, who are around them, who affect your day to day, who can either be a buffer between you and a corrupt federal government that has completely lost its way. They can either be the buffer, the barrier, the walls in their proper capacity, or they can be the floodgates to let whatever horrible legislation comes from on high down into our community. And unfortunately, a lot of people around here, they don't know who else is on the ballot and what those roles are or how it does affect them on a daily basis. So, and me and Miss Rita had that conversation where I was like, yeah, I said, it's scary because most people around here, they go into the polls and they have, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, and they'll pick the president and then go down the line and pick their favorite team. Most of the time, they don't even know who that person is on a moral or ethical level. They just know it's their team, which is so Pavlovian, guys. Really, grow up past this party politics crap. But unfortunately, that's why we are where we're at, is because that's the way that Americans have been conditioned to vote. The lesser of two evils. It is what it is. And you guys know that you're guilty of it here in Wartown, because I'm going to tell you something here in a minute. A little story time. When I get to the signs, the whole sign thing that I want to rant about, I'll get to it. But I want to tell you something. You better look at your Houston County ballot. And you better do before, for all of you guys who've early voted, you're locked and loaded, okay? But you guys, especially Generation X here in Houston County, if you haven't voted yet, and I know that a lot of you historically don't vote because I see what the numbers are for registered voters, and it's like really old, decrepit people who mostly go out to vote who are very ill-informed because they don't know how to use the internet, and they still believe in, the talking heads in these very tightly controlled mega media corporations, Fox News and CNN and all these things, who, they still get their news from that. And so they're very ill-informed, and then they go and vote based off of how ill-informed they are. And, that's wonderful for them. And they're leaving the planet. But Generation X and you guys, whatever generations, because they change it all the time. Generation X, Z, Y, millennial, whatever. You guys who are listening to me in Wartown or in Houston County, man, you got a shot to really, really do something. Because I know you guys don't go out to vote. And I understand. It seems ridiculous, right? Because nobody listens. And, government, what it tends to do, government is useless. Now, and let me go off on a rant. If you work in government and you just got offended at what I said, you're taking it the wrong way, okay? I know many individuals who work in government, who are wonderful people, but they work in government. And what government is a corpse. It's a dead body. It's lifeless. It's emotionless. And the individuals who are in it are basically cells of the corpse, like a zombie. The government's a zombie. Anyway, so if you're in government and you know me and that offends you when I say government is useless, hey, go meditate, pray about that. You're taking it the wrong way. You know it's the truth. And you know that if you didn't work in government and you didn't have to pay your bills and, have your insurance policies and all that good, it's ridiculous. I've talked to a lot of people who work in government who say they agree with a lot of what I say, but they can't say anything about it because they'll lose their jobs, right? So much freedom of speech. Anywho, what I mean to say is this. November 5th is coming. And if you haven't voted yet in Houston County or in Wartown, I do urge all of you to go vote, okay? But I also encourage you to get the president out of your mind and look at the other positions that you're going to be voting for. Because let's just say you're like a Trump person and you hate Kamala and think it's the end of the world. Okay, you better have the right local government officials in place. And let's say it's the other way around. You're all Harris and you think that it's going to be a civil war if Trump gets it. Then you might want to get educated about who is in your local government, okay? Who these people actually are. Because either way, bullshittery is coming down to our county, okay? And the other thing is this. I have been listening to a lot of these candidates in my local area, and it's almost like everybody who's running for office is pretending that what's going on in the world and in the country isn't actually happening. Okay. It's almost like I'm in a Walt Disney World animatronic thing where it's like, I'm running for office because I could do a good job. And it's like, well, we the people, okay, those of us who aren't in either the Democrat or the Republican cult, we the people are a little concerned about what's going to happen to our country. And we're not really interested in platitudes or slogans that have worked forever on, decrepit old voting blocks who are ill-informed. We're not really interested in that, man. There is a good possibility that this country is going to be under martial law. Either way, there's a good possibility. I know we're all distracted with the election. There's a good possibility that nuclear warheads could go off at any minute due to what's going on in the world and our entangling alliances. And it's wild because I don't hear anybody in my local area actually addressing the world. And it's a bit scary. Anyway, so I did want to, I don't know. So just briefly, we'll go over it. And I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share real quick. Let's take a look, guys, here in Wartown and Houston County if you haven't voted yet. This is what your Houston County sample ballots kind of look like. Okay, now let's kind of go through here. You're going to go in, and these are people who are mostly in your local area who are either the floodgates or the buffers from whatever evil supervillain from this section gets into the White House. Okay, because we're not going to win this election, as I've said before. Now, you're going to be going in there to vote for the president of the United States, and here are your pre-selected puppet installed names. Or you could write in. Funny story. when I went to go vote, actually, I saw like the official list of people who you could write in, and Shiva was like on the top of the list, I think. And I was like, and here I was going to write myself in. Now I did go and vote. I don't think it's kosher for me to reveal who I voted for in each of these quite yet, due to some interviews that are coming out this weekend. But anyway, so you're going to be asked to vote for the president, and woohoo, whoop-de-doo, you make yourself feel better by picking red team or blue team, but the Electoral College is going to be picking this for you. Okay, so the rest of you nitwits, what you traditionally do is you go through here and you look for your Republican or your Democrat, and if you're whatever, then sometimes you just go and comment. And if you do that, you have shit for brains. Don't do that this year, please. Go down here. Understand what a United States House of Representative District 2 is. Okay? If you can, try to reach out to these two candidates to ask them some questions like, hey, what do you do for me as a taxpayer? And probe. I mean, they all have websites. They all have emails. Reach out to these people while you can. All right? And look, this is just my suggestion. I'm not telling you guys what to do. I'm just telling you how I do. And I think I have common sense, and I'm going to assume that most of you do too. So anyway, what I do is if I haven't spoken to these people or looked at their platform and go, that's constitutional. That really does, enshrine the essence of what our country's supposed to be about, a constitutional republic that protects the rights of the individual over the group. So go through and try to Google, do some research while you can. And if you don't like what either of these assholes, not say that these two are assholes that you're seeing on the screen, but you know what I mean. If you don't think that either of these really are going to represent you, then write somebody in. Okay? I, as I've said before, have since 2012 only voted or clicked for 2 actual flesh and blood people who were running, because I got the cut of their jib and I vote my conscience. And my conscience isn't going to do lesser of 2 evils, because here we are. And you guys who do it, you call yourself a Christian. The lesser of 2 evils? God. Anywho, so you're also going to be asked to pick who your United States House of Representatives District 8, Austin Scott, who is the incumbent, and Darius Butler, or write-in, okay? Your state senator, okay, well, you got one there, so, if you don't like that guy, write in a fictional character, okay? It's, God, I'm going to share one of my ballots with you guys in the near future, and you're going to laugh your ass off. So, state senator from 20th District, state senator from 26th District, district attorney, Houston Judicial Circuit, okay? Judge of the probate court. You really want to pay attention to the judge. Now, of course, in this right here, it's an incumbent, she's going to get it. For clerk of Superior Court, all right, you got the Republican Team Red there, go Team Go, or Terry L. Childers. Or you could pick Angela King Anderson, who, though she is running as a Democrat, what caught our attention with Miss Anderson running for a very important position here in Houston County, the Superior Court clerk. What caught our eye about her campaign was one of her ads that she put out on her Facebook, and that said, vote the person, not the party, right? And there you had me. Hello, there you go. Okay. Now, is she running on a Democrat ticket? Okay, cool. But we'll get to the Democrats, the local Democrats and the Republicans here in a second. Anyway, I do want to say that Angela King Anderson is running for clerk of Superior Court. We did reach out to her and offer her the invitation, as we did to all the sheriff's candidates in our Sheriff Shootout special this year. We did extend an invitation to come on to Wartown Times and have a friendly discussion so she can educate all of you voters here in Houston County and Wartown about what she will be doing for you, how she will be doing it, and, talking about her history, finding out who she is, because I want you guys to meet her. I met her in person. I just recently met her in person for a brief, because I didn't want to, talk her up before we actually record it. I just, want to save all of that for whenever we are in front of the camera so we can be as authentic as possible, because authenticity is more powerful than love. Anyway, so that's an important position, guys. The clerk of Superior Court, you really want to make the right choice here. And if you don't like either one of these, you could write in Mickey Mouse. For sheriff, as all of you who have followed the Wartown Times this season know, I have tried to impress upon you how absolutely important the office of sheriff is, not just in general, but in this election and in this county. You can go back to the YouTube channel, the Zen in the Car YouTube channel, until we get our Spotify podcast links up. You can go back and check out the Houston County Sheriff Shootout Special 2024 and follow us there. As those of you who had follow us, we submitted a 30-question questionnaire for every single candidate that was running for sheriff in Houston County. We sent every one of them 30 questions. I've talked to several veterans in the community who have fought for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. They understood the questions, and they all agreed with me that it should take anybody about 30 minutes at most to answer those questions. Okay. And some of the veterans, they were like, you made it way too hard for them, Daniel. And I'm like, but did I though? I mean, the sheriff is the last line of defense, guys, between a totalitarian government that is inevitable at this point and you, and what their moral compass is and what their mental proclivity and belief about this as a spiritual document and a contract between we the people, what they believe about this is really important. Really, really important. And you're going to find out just how important after November the 5th. Okay. I heard a rumor that one of the candidates for the president of the corporation is willing to go so far as to use the military on American citizens during their presidency to quell any bullshit. Okay? That is frightening. Absolutely frightening to even think it. And given the conditions of the country and the world, it is a possibility. Now, the way that works is if you have like a Caesar installed in the District of Columbia and they give orders, you have the 9th and the 10th Amendment nullification powers, and ultimately it's going to come down to your local sheriff to understand 9th and 10th Amendment nullification and what their role is as intended by our founders. In case some tyrannical order comes down the pike, you have got to have a sheriff who is not going to go along to get along. You have got to have a sheriff that is going to have a spine of steel, that if some big conglomerate of corporations that we call the United States says, hey, we want you to do some really screwed up stuff in your county that violates everybody's civil rights, to suppress any kind of insurrection or anything. You have to have a sheriff who understands, comprehends, understands, and has the fortitude to look at the intimidating gears of the federal government and say, no, I will not enforce any legislation or acts that are repugnant to the Constitution. You have got to make sure that the guy that you pick for your sheriff, especially in this election, after this election, is that kind of guy. Now, you have Matt Moulton and Arthur Lee Harris who are running for sheriff. And you guys need to get educated about both of those candidates. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Anywho, so for your ballot here, your tax commissioner, well, there's this guy who's the incumbent, which means nobody ever runs against him. So you can either pick him again. And typically it's my practice that if it says incumbent, you really got to blow a lot of wind up my kilt for me to vote for you if you're an incumbent. You don't need to be in there. 2 terms max, get out. That's just my opinion, because here we are. Anywho, coroner, this guy, Jim Bob Williams, he's an incumbent. Nobody's running against him. You can either, vote incumbent, or you can get creative and use your First Amendment expression. So if you're exercising your First Amendment, writing in Darkwing Duck is not a waste of your vote, I assure you. For Solicitor General, you have Amy Elaine Smith. She is the incumbent Republican. And once again, nobody's running up against her. And this is another another office that is really important and affects you on a daily basis is this person right here. Okay. For Solicitor General. So bear with me. So for example, like what does a solicitor do in Wartown, in Houston County? This is the incumbent. What has she done? Right. Well, here's what the solicitor does. If you ever are cruising down the road and you get pulled over for a victimless infraction or policy violation, you get a citation or a ticket, right? And you're like, what is this all about? I haven't hurt anyone. This seems like it's almost an attempt to generate revenue because I haven't hit anybody, so nobody's injured. There's no injured party. There's no damaged property. What am I doing? And then, peace officer uses his discretion to give you a bill of attainder that doesn't have a victim on it. Now, if there's a victim, that's a totally different thing. But other than that, citations are bills of attainder. It's called Google, bill of attainder. Citations have violators copy at the bottom. That makes it a bill of attainder, which are illegal in this country. But I read. Anywho, so if you get a bill of attainder from a peace officer who used his discretion to give you a piece of paper that ultimately the state, the government is going to extract your hard-earned money and there's no injured party or anything, the Solicitor General is the one who decides to use the force of government to get it from you and not use their discretion to say, this is a frivolous, stupid thing that is just wasting taxpayers' time. Throw it out. Okay. So that person right there affects each and every one of you on a daily basis, the Solicitor General. So please educate yourself on that. And, again, it's just one person, incumbent. So, you could either click that loser or you can write in Garrett from Deep Space Nine. For County Commissioner Post 3, Yale Robinson, incumbent, or you could use your First Amendment and write in Elvis Presley. For County Commissioner, the incumbent, you get the idea, guys, right? So these people in these boxes affect you every single day. And they're going to be extremely important at post November 5th because where their mental is going to affect you. Just say, if you don't know anything about the Nuremberg trials, I'm not saying people in government are Nazis, not all. But if you've ever said out loud or in your head, if you work in government, I'm just following orders, you're dipshit. Anyway, County Commissioner, okay, proposed constitutional amendments. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended so as to authorize the General Assembly to provide general law for a statewide homestead exemption that serves to limit increases the assembly. Read it, okay? I'm not going to read it for you. I'm not your dad. I'll be your daddy. Anyway, go through these, guys. Please read it. Read who is going to be put in these offices in your local area. It really, really matters. And what doesn't matter is this. That's the distraction. That's the bait and switch. I believe in you, Wartown. I believe in you, Houston County. Please be educated before you go in there on November 5th. And you guys who traditionally, once again, we're going to move on to something else, who have sat at home during elections because you feel like all the choices dangled in front of you are shit. And I empathize. Please, my generation, Generation X, please go vote November 5th. And please vote your conscience, not your team. It is critical. Okay? like Rita said, or like her body language and her eyes said, we got a road ahead of us in this town, and in this county, and in this state, and in this country, and this world. And we got to be civil with one another here in our community. But we better act now to make sure that we put as many walls up that we can from the corruption that is coming here. Believe me, guys, and you guys know it doesn't matter what side of the aisle that you're on. If you're still doing party politics, you're useless anyway. So, there. Now, okay. All that being said, we did get a chance to meet Angela Anderson King. She was out sign waving, which funny story we'll get to in just a second here. She was out sign waving with some other good chaps from the Houston County Democrat Party here in Wartown. And I was like, oh, it's Angela. You know, we'll go and meet her. And we passed out some pocket constitutions because that's what it's about. And the Superior Court clerk going into the Houston County Court, you know, I know that she understands that it's all about this. And so we wanted to go ahead and give them some pocket constitutions provided by the charitable organization Canascence Total Wellness with their Georgia Canascence chapter. By the way, the Georgia Canascence was cool enough to provide us with tons of pocket constitutions. And if you are in Wartown or Houston County and you would like a free pocket constitution donated by the Georgia Canascence Total Wellness Foundation, you can either email me at wartowntimes@gmail.com or hit me up on their Facebook and Daniel Louis Crumpton with a private message, and we'll make sure that you guys get a free pocket constitution provided by the Canascence Total Wellness Foundation. Commercials over with. Anyway, so we got to meet me and Mona Lucia, the lovely Mona Lucia.com. Book a Reiki session. She's the best. We got to meet Miss Angela while they were out there waving signs. And we've been kind of going back and forth, and keep your fingers crossed because, you know, both Arthur Lee Harris and Angela King Anderson have agreed to come on the Wartown Times pre-November 5th to have a discussion with me. So we were kicking around some times, and we thought that it was ironic that they were out there with these signs because there's some bullshittery going on in Warner Robins about political signs, political campaigns. All right. And I wanted to, this is one of the things I wanted to rant about, okay, is here in Wartown, the fictional city of Wartown, I'm in Wellston. People who are citizens and employees of the corporation, the city of Warner Robins, they're in the fictional city of Wartown. If you haven't picked up on my gag yet, but it's the truth. Anywho, there's been a problem in this area with political signs. I mean, the hilarity over campaign signs in this area is some of the dumbest, most childish shit I have ever seen in my life. And like, I know that it's the truth, but before we get too much into that, for example, and I'm so sorry, anybody, I'm going to be sharing my screen here because I wanted to show you guys a couple of Facebook posts. Hang on, let me share my screen. So where are we at? Okay, so here we are. Now, and again, I apologize. You know, the way I look at it is Derfation Booking is like a public commons area where, you know, it's a marketplace of ideas whenever Mark Zuckerberg lets us actually express our First Amendment. So if you happen to see your Facebook page on the Wartown Times and you don't like it, I'm sorry. You know, if it's a private page and I'm your friend and you see it, send me a message and say, hey, Daniel, could you please not do that next time? And I'll be like, cool. Okay. But for the most part, I'm pretty discreet, so don't worry. All my Facebook friends, I'm not going to put you on blast. I'm not that. I think people who do that are douchebags. But anyway, if it's relevant to the Wartown Times, I think that it's important for us to take a look at some Facebook posts about stupid signs. So, like, evidently, especially in this election cycle, a lot of, well, put frankly, a lot of the Democratic candidates' campaign signs are being ripped up and stolen and displaced. and thrown in, ditches and things like that. Now, just for example, Derek Mack, he is one of your city council members. He's not my city council member, sadly. Not that mine's Larry, and Derek is a city council member. I call him Mac. And Derek, I've been, you put awesome quotes up there. So I'm so sorry. I was like, I really think I could piggyback off of Derek. So I've been doing observations on observations of the Mac, which is on certain things that Councilman Mac posts that I'm like, yeah, I could add to that. I'll add a comment and then I'll share it to my wall. And I didn't ask him for permission. I'm not trying to troll him or anything. And Derek, if that's not something you want me to do, then you just say, hey, Dan, knock it off. But anyway, I think that Derek posts some very insightful things, and I have met Derek and his family and believe him to be a very honorable man, a veteran, and somebody who understands folks like me who have conditions like complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and can empathize. I think Derek Mack's a good man. Do I agree with everything that he's voted for? No. But I believe he's a very honorable man. And so I'm on his page, and a day ago he goes, elections are very contentious at times. It all reminds me of how my signs were vandalized all over town when I was running for office. Now, I was off doing some other Batman type things whenever Derek was running for office, so I wasn't privy to this. But here's a video of what he's talking about here in Wartown with political signs.
Look where it's at.
Let me go back, yeah?
So this is my sign. Look where it's at. Stakes in the ground. See right there? We're right here at Lake Joy. My other sign. Tried to get it too. Look at it.
All right. So, sorry that happened to you, Derek. I know that's got to be so frustrating. But anyway, and it wasn't just Derek who's talking about, people ripping up political signs around these parts. I have a new friend here. Her name is Nicole Distelhorst, and I'm so sorry, Nicole, if I butchered your last name. Correct me. Bring me up on their Facebook and give me the right pronunciation if I did. But anyway, and again, Nicole, if, whatever, I thought that this was funny. So this was October the 24th. We've had so many signs stolen that our branch has switched to the plastic cheaper ones and put warnings on them. That said, I've been paying close attention to any unknown vehicles in our quiet cul-de-sac. You can see my sign from the road, but you'd have to enter my cul-de-sac to get it. So yesterday I'm sitting outside smoking, and this car creeps around our cul-de-sac. They couldn't see me behind my giant bushes, but I could see them. They slowed down by the signs and then drove up to the stop sign. They sat there for a few seconds, and then they put their car in reverse. Once they're backing up to my yard, I stand up and walk out into my driveway. I am now standing in full view, smoking a cigarette in my pajamas, just staring at them. They don't move. I don't move. This pisses me off, so I start walking right toward their vehicle, snapping a picture of their license plate. I down my phone and put it up to my ear, and this spurs them to burn rubber out of my neighborhood. Chris was on his way home for lunch, so he answered immediately. I told him I was pretending he was the police and to watch for a silver four-door sedan creeping around. He didn't see them, thankfully. Here's the thing. I hear all the time that people are afraid to put up signs, and to a degree, I understand. Nobody wants things stolen from their yard or their property, potentially vandalized. In the very recent past, it was physically unsafe to put them up in the South. But here's my thing. They enjoy us being in fear. They get power from that. And I personally, on a spiritual level, refuse to grant them that power over me. They don't know it, but they should be more afraid of me, because I swear, if I'd had a baseball bat out, I wouldn't let them steal my sign. And then I would have used all hours of hitting practice I have notched in my belt, and I would have knocked out their tail lights, possibly their knees, and then I would have had them arrested for theft. Maybe it was receiving hate mail more than once telling me I should leave Georgia. Maybe it was my neighbor's AR-15 sign pointing at my children's playground. Maybe it was the Trump sign clipped on our tent at the fair and the comments of his supporters I had to hear. Maybe it was this guy casing my peaceful neighborhood. Maybe I was just born this way. Who knows what did it, but what I do know is that I'm not even remotely afraid. I'm angry. Go ahead and take my sign. And of course, she's got a sign here, and she's a Harris Waltz person, and it's stealing or defacing campaign signs is a crime, and you are on camera, right? So, and look, guys, I know for a fact that this is a huge problem here in Wartown. So, and let me elaborate on that. All right. Where am I at? So, all right. I'm going to tell you guys a little story here. Story time, as my friend David DePuma would say. Once upon a time, yours truly was a registered Republican. I'm not proud to say it. And I'm not bashing, I'm not a Democrat either, okay? But long time ago, when I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and thought that, me and my peers could enter into the political world and make a difference, I'm a conservative, and what that means is I want to conserve the fundamental principles of what this country was allegedly founded upon. It don't mean I'm a neoconservative Republican, which is what the Republican Party has morphed into. So when I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I'm like, all right, I dig the Constitution. I understand it's a contract. I also understand that it is basically the story of Yeshua, the Messiah Christ's trial for dummies. Like, it's a condensed antithesis to what got our Lord and Savior nailed to a tree, the church and the state. Anyway, so I understood that this is a spiritual document for me. It's like the Decalogue of Christ, right? I've talked about this ad nauseum, how the Bill of Rights is a way to prevent one innocent man from being executed by kangaroo courts and unjust tyrannical laws from an empire that's about to go boom. Anyway, I was a conservative when I was entering into the political world, and we didn't have like the fast pace of information from the internet back. I mean, we did, but this was around the boom of talk radio, like, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, people like that. And so I was in a car lot, hence zeninthecar.com, and I would listen to talk radio, and I'm trying to get involved. I'm passionate about my country. I'm passionate about being a good member of this community and doing my civic duty and, being informed and going to vote and being a part of the American process, allegedly. I was young. And so I was under the impression that the Republican Party was all about the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and no entangling alliances and no policing the world and, America first and all that good stuff. That's what I was under the impression of. And so I went into the Republican Party. And you know what they say? Be careful where you stick your wiener. No, that's what I say in other places. Be careful when you meet your heroes, you might not like them. And, me looking for a door into the political process, when I went into the Republican Party, especially around here in Houston County and Wartown, boy, did I get an awakening. And a lot of people who were in the Liberty Movement circa 2008, 2012, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We flooded us younger people at the time. We flooded the local Republican Party around here in Houston County and in the fictional city of Wartown. And the way that the Liberty people were treated by the local Republican Party, who, let's just be honest, these were people who probably had never logged onto the internet, believed that Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, some of the other knuckleheads, they believed that what they said was the gospel. And that's who was running the local Republican Party. Okay. People who are leaving the planet, right? And so they were excited to see us younger people come in the Liberty Movement back in 2008 and 2012. They were really, really excited to see us and eager to get us to work doing, the footwork for their candidates that they would let through, right? And we were eager because we were like, oh, this is great, And then over time, it dawned on them that we weren't really for having military bases all over the world, policing the world, endless warfare, putting the military industrial complex on steroids. And, I almost went somewhere. I might go there, but hang on. That when they found that out, that we weren't warmongers and that we all weren't, conservative Southern Baptist Christians who believe that the God of the King James Bible is a eugenicist that has a chosen people over other people, that we don't all quite believe that, right? And the way that we were treated was horrific, okay? Absolutely horrific. We were used, we were shut down, we were denied a whole lot. I'm just talking from my personal experience as someone who loves this country, loves the Constitution, wanted to get involved, had no choice but to get involved here locally, went into the local Republican Party with very few old people too, by the way. So, dog ear that. And they fucked us over so much. It was like it's a tight club. And as I've said previously, we're going to be getting into that kind of thing here next season. But, they ultimately destroyed any illusion that yours truly ever had that the Republican Party is specifically around here is anything other than Apex bitch. Bitch. Okay? You were not going to get a candidate through the Republican Party if they had even like a mild opinion that, hey, I don't think our country needs to be fighting Israel's wars all the time. You're not going to get a candidate from the Republican Party that thinks from that part of the spectrum up to genocide. That's a different episode. You're not. Well, so ultimately that is when I knocked the dust off of my sandals of the Republican Party around these parts. And I can tell you, in my time in the Republican Party, they are absolutely obsessed with stealing people's signs during election time. It is the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. Grown adults in the political process stealing other people's property, political signs, because they don't like who they're voting for. They're going to, steal their property or deface their property because they don't like their message. You call you a Christian. You know what I mean? And it's like this. Look, you guys know, I don't think that either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris are worth a fuck. Okay? I don't. If you think that they are, cool. But I don't. We're not going to win that one. Never. But when I'm riding around Wartown and I see a Trump sign or a Walt sign, like, I don't get so emotional and get my team sports panties in a wad that I'm like, I'm going to get out of my car and I'm going to tear that damn sign down. And these liberals, they need to just get on out here. And I'm going to show them, because everybody knows whoever has the most signs wins around these parts. You know what I mean? Which that says a lot too. It's like, think about that. You're riding down the road and you're like, you have the mentality that I'm going to tear their sign down Roll that logic back. Because if they got less signs than the guy that I'm rooting for, who's my cousin, or my brother, people won't think he's popular, or her, the other candidate, because people around here are dumb. I'm going to rip the sign up. They rip the sign up. I personally can tell you, as somebody who was in the Republican Party, that's the Republicans doing that. It is. There's no doubt about it. And it's the most asinine, infantile thing that I have ever seen in my life, because we were doing like Ron Paul signs. And it happened to us. And we were in the Republican Party, and they didn't like Ron Paul, so they tore those signs down, and we caught them. And this is back in 2008 and 2012. So this stuff with signs in Wartown is dumb. And, I'm going to call out the Republicans around here, the actual card-carrying Republicans and the ones who just play Republicans on TV. Because I'm going to tell you something. A lot of you people in Houston County and Wartown who are good, I'm a Republican. I never saw you at Republican meetings. No, you are a Republican every 4 years. You are. You're a Republican every 4 years. You don't go to caucuses. You don't become delegates. You don't know who the Republican chairperson is. You're a team sports Republican. Hey. And listen, Generation X, I know you know this is horse shit. This whole process is horse shit. You got to go vote. You got to go do something. You got to have your voice heard. And I have my take on what Generation X would do, how they would vote. But anyway, I digress. This stuff with signs, oh my God, it's just the dumbest shit. Anyway, I just wanted to rant about that because it's so immature. It really is so immature, and it's so frustrating, especially, when you are trying to make a difference and you just get so desensitized and shut down because you're like, what's the point? So anyway, I commend you, you Democrats over there for making this louder in our community and pointing it out. Like Nicole there, that it is. It's like, it's childish. It really is childish. And I don't have any doubt that death threats and you need to get out of my backyard. We don't believe in that kind of woo-woo around here. I have no doubt that, that kind of crap's going on because I heard myself. Now, listen, again, I'm not a Democrat. And I think that people who are card-carrying Democrats that will go down with that shit, I think that they got shit for brains too, okay? I'm sorry. I do. That being the case, I am going to be real honest. What I have discovered is that I know a lot of individuals around here who are in the Democrat Party around here personally, and I do not agree with a lot of their ideas about policy. Okay? Kristen Kiefer is like the head of the Houston County Democrat Party. There is so much of her politics that I do not agree with. But I genuinely respect Kristen and love Kristen. And every time there's some type of function going on in our community where it really matters, you see Kristen there. And she's a Democrat. And I don't agree with everything that she believes in. But I respect her. And I know that in my dealings with her and other Democrats around here, I can't speak about the nation. I don't live in a nation. I live in Wartown. The Democrats that I've interacted with around these parts have been far more accepting of some weirdo like me who, the Constitution. And they're willing to have conversations, and we're willing to disagree with one another and still be civil, And that's just me being honest. For all of you people who are Democrat or Republican in name only, I'm giving you my firsthand experience of both parties as somebody who gives a fuck. But anywho, I digress. So you guys with the signs, man, knock it off. Like, for real. Moving on. So, also, and I do got to wrap this up because I got a guitar to play. But, as you guys know, we have, once again, sent out questionnaires to all the sheriff's candidates. And the only candidate who bothered to respond to yours truly in the Wartown Times team is Arthur Lee Harris. Okay, so I've had a lot of friendly, cordial chats with Mr. Harris about that questionnaire based on the Constitution. And, you guys can go, well, you can't go to the website right now. It's on it's on maintenance mode. But anyway, if you want a copy of the 30-question questionnaire that the Wartown Times team sent to all of the sheriff's candidates, just hit me up, wartowntimes@gmail.com, or on their Facebook, and I'll make sure you get it. You can read it and go, nobody, like none of the candidates answered questions based off of the Constitution that, Daniel Louis Crumpton, who is playing the part of the everyman American, every woman voter who isn't caught up in the two-party game, like I'm representing the people who don't vote party, who have sat at home traditionally and might not do it this time, I hope, who are going to go, all right, I don't care about this team sports. I want to actually make a difference before our country burns and my kids die, or go to some kind of FEMA camp or whatever, I don't know. Bad stuff. Anywho, if you want a copy of the questionnaire, just hit me up and I'll give it to you. But that being the case, as I've said, I've invited, candidate Matt Moulton to come and have a chat with me here, and talk about it. We've invited him several times and have gotten no response from him. However, one of his social media managers did get the questionnaire and the invitation for him to come on the Wartown Times, and said that they would pass it along. And since then, we've heard crickets, But Arthur Lee Harris has spoken to us about this questionnaire, and we are desperately, he did agree to come on the Wartown Times over the weekend if everything works out with his schedule, as with Angela, to discuss his candidacy and what his history is and what his vision for the future in the sheriff's department is. So you guys keep an eye out for that. But that being the case, after I did have a discussion with Arthur Lee Harris via text about coming on the Wartown Times, I was like, well, let me go and check out what's going on the other side, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen again, I think. So in that context, me as somebody who is rational and is looking at what's going on in the country and the world, and because I haven't heard back from candidate Matt Moulton about those questions, he did over on his Facebook page now have a link to a Decision 2024 interview he did with 41 WMGT, and you guys can come here, and there's the Decision 2024 Meet Matt Moulton, candidate for Houston County Sheriff. Now, again, me, myself, I'm sitting here in my head and I'm asking questions like, hey, candidates for sheriff, what is your position on using an Orwellian technological grid to bypass all of our personal privacy and our civil rights? What is your position on that in the event we get like a Julius Caesar 2.0 in their White House? Hey, if I don't know, if some executive order comes down the pike that says confiscate all the guns, are you going to do it? Or like in events in Texas or North Carolina, let's just say that an EMP goes off and we're all without power, or a hurricane comes through and none of us can access the internet, and we have a situation like North Carolina. Pray for those people. And Texas not too long ago. What if we have a situation like that? What is your position? Like, what are you going to do? Those are kind of questions that I'm asking. Like, hey, candidates for sheriff, in the event that we go to war with the world, and the fact that we live near one of the biggest logistical Air Force bases in the world, not going to be a target at all. But if anything were to go south here in Wartown, as the sheriff, what are you going to do to uphold the contract between we the people and the government? So that's the kind of questions that I already went into the booth in my mind. And so, but the only cut of Matt Moulton's jib that I have been able to get is online, not in person. Anyway, so 41 WMGT did a let's see, 4-minute and 12-second interview with Matt Moulton, who will be replacing the longest sitting sheriff in American history, who just passed away. So we got a 4-minute interview from 41 WMGT. You can watch the video. Every time I try to play the video on their website, it's like pop-ups like from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and it's It's hilarious. So I'll just read the transcript here, a little bit of it anyway. So Macon, Georgia, 41 NBC, WMGT, Matt Moten, and Arthur Lee Harris are on the ballot for Houston County Sheriff. 41 NBC's Monica Diaz-Meek spoke with Matt Moten ahead of the November 5th election. Candidate name, Matt Moten, running for Houston County Sheriff. Campaign website, mattmotenforsheriff.com. Monica, welcome back today. Okay, I'm going to just skip down here a little bit because they talk about Sheriff Talton passing away. You guys can either view that or read it yourself. So let's get down here. Monica, which she starts digging into the questions. Monica, well, thank you for sharing that. Again, prayers are with all you guys. Now, I want to start off with our questions. Number one, first off, what are the main priorities that you plan to address if elected Sheriff of Houston County, and how will you do that? Matt, first thing is going to be addressing the crime, the violent crime in the youth population. And I think we're going to do that by increasing our manpower, getting our manpower back up to staffing. The county commission approved for additional patrol slots in the last budget year, but with our shortage, we haven't even attained that number yet. So working hard to recruit, get qualified deputies on board, and then address the crime problem. Monica, question number two. What do you think that Monica, why do you think that you are the best person for this job? Matt, I think I've worked hard my entire career. I started from high school. I went to college. I got a degree in criminal justice, bachelor's degree from College of the Ozarks in Missouri. And then I went back to college after I started my career at the Warner Robins Police Department and got a master's degree in public administration. For the last 28 years, I have served as a law enforcement officer, 24 of the 28 years here in Houston County. I know the current trends in law enforcement. I'm up to date on technology. I believe technology is the gateway to the future for law enforcement, and I'm on board with advancing our technology. And the thing about this election is you're running as a Republican or a Democrat, and the office of sheriff is not just Republican or Democrat or independent. You're not going to call our 911 center and their first question be, did you vote Republican or Democrat? We're here to help everyone in the community, and that is my goal. It's going to be the priority of the sheriff's office. So, even though I'm running as a Republican, I'm asking Democrats to support me, to trust me, and I won't let them down. Monica, question number three. What's your reaction to the record-breaking voter turnout? What does that say to you about this upcoming election cycle? Matt, right now, I just think it shows how important it is. If you think back with Sheriff Talton for the last 51 years, 9 months, and 19 days, Sheriff Talton served as the Sheriff of Houston County. Although he had opposition 3 times, those elections were never close. Sheriff Talton was elected in November of 1972, took office January of 1973, and I was born in January of 74. He's been the sheriff my entire life. That's my William Shatner impression. Star Trek guy. So I think that the interest in the position of sheriff is we want to make sure we get it right. And I agree. The voters want to make sure we put the right person in that position to continue the legacy set by Sheriff Talton. And that is fair and impartial policing. Having an open door policy to the community. Yeah. Showing the people that we care. One of the most valuable lessons I learned from Sheriff Talton is about relationship building. And I think that's going to be the key to my success as sheriff and to the success of the sheriff's office. Monica, well, thank you so much. Matt, thank you. So, there's your 3 questions. So, there you have it. And again, we have invited Matt Moten to have a chat with us and haven't heard anything back. So, you get that. Make of it what you will. I look forward to talking to Arthur Lee Harris this weekend. If we can pull it off, when I announced that Arthur Lee Harris agreed to talk to us, a lot of you guys out there were really excited about it and eager because, we're not going to do we have more time to really get to know Arthur Lee Harris in an informal kind of conversation, get the cut of his jib. So I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping that our schedules all align and the stars align with candidate Arthur Lee Harris as well as Angela King Anderson. And any of the other candidates, you're invited. You were invited. Eager to talk to you because, I'm just playing the part of we the people on this one. Anyway, so didn't want to go this long, but you know me, I'm a long-winded, thoughtful person who doesn't have the attention span of a guppy, and wanted to get on here and say that all those things, those wonderful things. First, Miss Rita, thank you. Thank you for what you had to say to me at City Hall today, and I kept my promise. I would like everybody in Houston County and Wartown to listen to what Miss Rita down at City Hall today had to say. And it's no matter what happens on November 5th, please be civil with one another. Be kind to one another. All right? It almost seems like there's some entity that wants all of us to hate one another and be at each other's throats and be nasty to one another because a lot of us have gotten caught up in party politics for far too long. And here we are. So no matter what happens on November 5th, please be civil to one another. Please be kind to one another. Have dialogue, thoughtful dialogue. Listen to each other, because I'm telling you right now, guys, and you guys know it, the United States of America Incorporated, the empire, is crumbling. All right? And I know that it's been comfortable to kind of see all of the horrors going on in our world and in our country through TikTok before they ban it, and then kind of look into the local stuff, and nobody's talking about the realities of the situation that we're all in and that we're all going into. I know, but don't let the beast system that it has become, the corporation of the United States, don't let it win by putting you at odds with your neighbor. You know, a lot of you guys around these parts identify as born again Christians, and I would like to heavily emphasize the words of our Lord and Savior, to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and love your neighbor as you love yourself, especially after November 5th in our area. So that being the case, I'm going to go ahead and I got to get out of here. I got Archer the Space Noodle back there who's wanting to share a steak with me, and I got a guitar over here. It's begging to be fiddled with by my phalanges. Anyway, little housekeeping. Next year, when we do come back, we are going to be opening up to small local businesses, real estate, as they call it in the web design industry, on our websites. We are going to be syndicating out a Wartown Times specific podcast, syndicated through Spotify, and it'll hit all of your podcasting platforms of your choice. A lot of people who dig what we're doing over here have asked us to really get back into the podcasting format, streaming on Spotify. Jeremy Furman, who's an awesome guy, he's the communications and marketing director at the city of Warner Robins. He's one of the guys, he loves Spotify, and he's like, it's perfect for when I'm driving to work and everything. And other people have said, hey, we love what you do with the Wartown Times, but the Zen in the Car stuff is a little woo-woo, a little spiritual, and vice versa, right? So it's like, okay, when we get into the next season, we're going to be separating out the podcast from a Zen in the Car Spotify channel and iTunes and all that good stuff, and a Wartown Times thing. So just be on the lookout for that. Again, if you go to wartowntimes.com currently and zeninthecar.com, you will see that they are on maintenance mode because we're rewiring everything. We do it every year. Every year since 2011, when zeninthecar.com was founded, and wartowntimes.com has only been up for 1 year, so this will be the first year that it's on annual break. But we do every year around this time. Me and I always have a rotating crew who work with me. Some in front of the camera and the mic, some not. But we all go on an annual break for a little while to recharge creatively, to mentally, spiritually, and kind of revamp the website as technology changes. And again, it's because, a totally different thing, but Andy Warhol was a prophet. He said in the future, everyone's going to have 15 minutes of fame. And he was right. So it says a lot about psychedelics. Anyway, but we're oversaturated with information coming at us from social media, and people having the impression that they are supposed to be putting out content all the time, and that's just not been our philosophy. It's like, if we don't have anything to say later, we're off walking Indian mounds or something. We're doing something cool somewhere else, and then we can come back and put out content that's quality and authentic, rather than, gotta feed the algorithm, So that's not what we do here. So when we do come back, we are going to have separate streams, separate podcast streams, and we're going to be inviting local businesses and entities and charities that if you like what we do here, and you dig kind of what we're doing, and you think that you would be a good fit with our audience, and you want to promote your business, then you can email us at wartowntimes@gmail.com. In the subject, just put attention Mona, and you can ask her for a quote on clickable links and 30, 60-second radio spots, YouTube spots, things like that. So if you're interested in that, we're going to be doing that to help out ourselves, the endeavor here, as well as all of you guys, by keeping our local economy stimulated. So check that out. The other thing is, once again, I want to let you guys know, if you are in Wartown or Houston County and you do want a free pocket constitution, I want to thank the Cannabis Total Wellness Foundation, a 501c3 charity, nationwide medical cannabis collective that has been saving the lives of people such as myself and veterans who also have to live with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Cannabis Total Wellness was founded in 2013. And in that time has, through pre-existing legislation, been able to help countless people through the power of holistic plant medicine. So if you guys have any questions about that, or you want to become a medical cannabis patient here in the state of Georgia so that you are immune from any kind of legal stigmatization or otherwise, so you can be okay, and you don't want to go the big pharma route, you're more into natural things like cannabis, please go to gacannasense.com. For all of our lawful models, how it works, how you can become a member, how you can get your lab tested, organic, fully licensed medicine from their apothecary. Go to gacannasense.com, or you can hit me up on their Facebook. And I've gone on national and international radio speaking to millions of people about Cannabis Total Wellness, the mutual benefit 501c3 medical cannabis collective under the 1996 Compassionate Use Act, the Affordable Care Act, and Article 4, Section 1 and 2 of the Constitution, the trifecta, which saves lives. So check it out. Or you can go to cannasense.com for the mothership, Cannasense. We do a lot of great things over there. Again, we do cancer research, children's hospitals, veterans needs, cancer patient needs. We try to lower that 22 veterans blowing their brains out every day because of untreated post PTSD. We try to help you guys out. We do have over there veterans discounts and cancer survivor discounts, because the collective was formed out of a place of love and empathy and having lost loved ones to those horrible ailments. So go to cannasense.com, gacannasense.com. This message has been sponsored by Cannabis, and they were cool enough to give us bulk pocket constitutions. So if you want one, you can hit us up, email me at wartowntimes@gmail.com, or hit me up on their fishing booking, and we'd be happy to get you a free pocket constitution. Because I got news for you guys. We're going to need them now. Anyway, so this has been my pre-election rant, and I hope it's been edifying for you guys. Please spread the word if you're in Wartown or Houston County about the Wartown Times. It's obvious, like if this is your first time seeing us, that we are not your typical news. We're not politically aligned in any kind of a way. We're just looking out for the average American who wants to, be cool, live in peace, do their own thing, harm no one, and, truly be in the land of the free and the home of the brave. That's who we speak for, I suppose. Or, that's who we're catering to, is flesh and blood people with a brain. But I'm biased. Anywho, guys, especially Generation X here in Wartown and Houston County, educate yourself about that ballot, and go vote. And when the chips fall where they're going to fall, stay engaged, stay informed, stay peaceful, stay kind, look out for your neighbor, and don't allow yourself to continue being deceived by the two-party system, guys, because you could stick a fork in that whole process. It's done. After this election, I think it's done. And then it's up to us to pass off a country to our progeny. Right? Anyway, love you guys. Vote. Cool. Stay well. And pick up my novel, Then Came the Flood. Wrote that in 2012. It's a cool book. BarnesandNobles.com, Amazon.com, Books-A-Million.com, all of your book retailers. If I see you with it or you have it with you and I see you down at the grocery store or whatever, I'd be happy to sign it for you. Other than that, guys, I love you. Stay well and peace.
Beep, 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 beep. Live from Wellston, Georgia, it's another episode of the Wartown Times. Be sure to like us on all of our internet doohickeys like TikTok, YouTubing, and Facebooking.